Hello everybody! We are going to go through today and learn how to do reverse stamping from Basecoat to Topcoat. These are the images that I am picking out for reverse stamping, and we're going to go over the little color palette a little bit here. This is So Dope from Sinful Colors. It's a great winter transition color, like from winter to spring. I actually really like that one. I don't even know if you can get it anymore, honestly, because a lot of my Sinful Colors I've had for years. I'm going for something that's a little bit soft, maybe a tiny bit flirty, a little cutesy, for a little transition mani here. So what we're doing today, and please don't forget that I am an affiliate with Maniology, so if you use my code on products, you do get 10% off. What we're doing first is we're going to go through and pick up the images that we are going to do reverse stamping on. For this particular manicure, I am stamping that outline in black. So you want to pick it up, set it off to the side, and let it start to dry. Very important to let it dry. It does dry pretty quick, but when it comes to reverse stamping, I like to be a little OCD about it and make sure it's 100% dry. Because you're going to go in and put wet polish on top of it, which will wet the polish underneath it again. So again, make sure it's good and dry before you do anything else. We're going to go through and clean off all the junk on the plates. By the way, that cloudy look that's on there, that is from the acetone. If you don't know that, it'll usually wipe off with a soft cloth, or you can use some rubbing alcohol, and that'll take it off too if it's fuzzy and you don't like it. So here are the 4 images that we're going to use on the nails today. And I have my crystal palette here that I picked up from a local crystal shop for very cheap. It was like $6, I don't know, $7.99 I think. All right. I am using the Maniology 106 brush. This is an art brush. It has a teeny tiny tip. You can see right there, it's tiny. Like I almost need my glasses tiny. When you go in, you're going to pick up a little bit of color off of a palette. So I've got some the purpley pink polish on the palette. I thought I had it in view. I'm sorry, I don't. But it's just a little tiny blob there. It does not take much for this. And what you want to do is go in and very gently tap the design into your base outline. If you drag it along, you will smear it. And when you check the other side, it will definitely be smeared. If it doesn't smear it, it will lift it up. So what you need to make sure that you do is on your brush, and this is why I tap, you need to always have a little tiny bead of polish on the back side of your brush so that your brush doesn't actually ever touch the base image. You want to use the brush to basically push the polish around without touching your base image. So even though it looks like I'm just kind of painting it in, I'm doing little tiny tapping motions. Now, there are a lot of people who use dotting tools for this, and it works for them. I'm not a huge fan of dotting tools. I don't like them around my stampers because they're made out of metal, and it's very easy to accidentally poke holes in things with metal. So just for me, I prefer a brush, but if you prefer a dotting tool, please use what makes you happy. One of the other major tips, and you can see on this one how it's a little bit thicker when I'm putting this polish on. It's okay if you do that. However, it takes a lot longer to dry. If you let it dry, or if you don't let it dry enough and you have it a little too thick, it will pop like a balloon when you go to press it on your nail. If you go look for my pirate nail art video, you can see that totally happened, splattered everywhere. And y'all, I do have a ton of reverse stamping videos in the advanced stamping playlist, where I do different tutorials for this over and over and over. So if you want to see a lot of different looks and get a lot of different concepts, you can go there for it. Because there are tricks to it. Like if you're doing a face, you actually need to start with the eyes and then work your way back. It's kind of the opposite of how you would normally paint a picture, where you paint the background first and then you put your main image in it. And this is exactly the opposite. You're starting with the main image and then you do your background. So there are definitely tips and techniques depending on the different stamp. Now, if you go look at my Halloween playlist, there is some reverse stamping in there that were fairy tales, like creepy fairy tales gone wrong kind of thing. And you can see what I mean about the faces. Like you actually paint the face first and then the hair and then the clothes and you work your way back. On these are basic, little simple reverse stamping items, so you can actually just go in and paint each color individually. On these, and I don't know if you noticed this, but what I'm doing is trying to do one color at a time. So I put the pink out, go through, tap, 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 put the pink on everything. That way my pink doesn't get dried out, right? It also gives it time to dry so you don't accidentally mix the colors. Now, I don't show you this on here. I do get out of line a little bit on these green leaves. Here's the fun thing about this. If you do that and it's very thin, sometimes you can kind of flick up the edge with the brush where you got out of line, and you can make it fold back in on itself. Nobody will see it if you stamp it. Sneaky tricks 101. If you'll notice here on this one in particular too, I am not putting the white over the flowers. Why am I not doing that, you might ask? Because if you put white behind the image, it can actually make it pop more. So I wanted to make sure that my flowers stayed the same color and one wasn't brighter than another. So if you're using a really dark base for a reverse stamping image, you can go in with like neon colors and that kind of stuff, paint white behind it, and it'll make them still show up when you put it on the dark color. Really cool trick. You do have to let it dry longer. And you can also make decals out of this, or decals if you're from the UK or Canada. My husband says decals too. It cracks me up. And now it's like stuck in my head and I keep wanting to say decals when I know it's decal. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off my palette here. But you can also make decals, and what you would do on that is just let everything dry and make sure it's pretty dry. And then you just put a clear layer of polish on there. Some polishes will bubble up and bead off the stamper, so you're going to have to play with whatever clear polish works for you. But they can bead up or get holes in them. It's fun, but I prefer to do it this way versus making a decal, because a lot of times they get brittle if you let them dry too long. It's a lot more extra cleanup, so I just prefer to stamp it directly. Now this is that So Dope color. We've got all the other ones painted, filled in, ready to go, right? So we're going to do a base coat. The first one was one coat. This is 2 coats. I'm going to go through and put a big, thick top coat on top of the base coat. Why am I doing this? I have said it over and over, and I'll keep saying it. If you screw it up, you can clean it up if you have a top coat on. So then once it's dry, and that's a perfect example, that one dried really well. It was completely dry, so it didn't want to stick. This is the point where some people would use a sticky base to make sure they can get it down, but you don't have to. Just hold it there for a couple seconds. Your fingers and your skin will warm it up and it'll transfer over. Now, the base coat on that was not completely dry, so it did smudge a little bit. Super fun trick I learned from Kelly Marissa. Lick your finger, smooth it back down. But I didn't see that one because I film upside down. So I didn't see it till it was a little bit late, but I did get it mostly smoothed out. And as you can see, I'm just slowly pressing down to make sure that everything comes off nice and clean. Beautiful, beautiful image on it. But again, if you don't want to wait those few extra seconds, you can paint some sticky base coat on there. Or if it is really and truly too dry to transfer. Most of mine are not too dry to transfer. I usually let them dry between 5 and 10 minutes, and then I can go ahead and press them down. And I know that's a question people ask a lot, like, how long do you let it dry and da-da-da. You can tell. You can just look at it and tell. And if you screw it up, you screw it up. We all learn that way. It's not that hard to take off one nail and redo it. I've done it multiple times. I thought this one would be cute with the matte top coat on, so I went ahead and did do a matte top coat. Somewhere in this, I smeared the bejesus out of it somehow. I did edit that out because I wasn't going to repaint it all for that. But be careful so you don't smudge. Let me know what you think. Let me know if this tutorial helped you, or if you have any other questions if you're new to stamping. And even if you're not new to stamping, ask away, because I'll answer you. There should be a playlist in the bottom right corner for more advanced stamping, so you can see those other reverse manis I was talking about. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.